Siti meets with Mr. Gani in Mr. Gani's office.
Morning, Mr. Gani. You want to see me?
Oh, good morning, Miss Siti. Yeah, please have a seat. Okay, Miss Siti. I've reviewed our financial report for this year, and even though we make a profit, but I'm still not satisfied with it. Okay, here. You see the cost of goods sold and inventory drastically increased from the last year. Okay, so what happened?
I am fully aware of that, Mr. Gani, but there's nothing wrong with the company's money transaction. Our department has already checked all the notes and receipts. We even included all the related expenses in the COGS and the inventories. I think our company is spending too much money in producing the products.
You think? Well, I think the purchasing system that we are currently use led to the redundant purchasing and higher inventory holding costs. I need you to review the system. Can you at least do that?
Sure, Mr. Gani.
Okay, then brief me on the issue during our next meeting, okay?
Noted, Mr. Gani. I will do my best.
Okay, thank you, Miss Siti. You may go.
After leaving Mr. Gani's office, Miss Siti Aminah gathered all of the representatives from each department to discuss the issues within the company. They eventually found out that there was not only one issue but a lot more. Miss Siti Aminah then decided to conduct a meeting with Mr. Gani together with all of the representatives so that Mr. Gani can better understand the situation that PCI is currently facing.
What with all these people, Miss Siti?
Mr. Gani, I managed to review our company's system with the help of this representative of each department. While we were discussing yesterday, we detected more than one issue.
Oh, then we better get started now. So, Miss Siti?
But before we start, Mr. Gani, here is the flowchart on our purchasing system. Helps us to detect the areas that we are in. In order to have a better understanding of our company situations, it would be better to hear directly from our representatives. Let's start with Mr. Lim.
Yes, Miss Siti. I noticed that Mr. Razi did not come to me for the authorization of MMR, which is needed in preparing the monthly raw material summary. And I also believe that he did not get her authorization regarding the submitted quotation from vendors. Right, Miss Sam? And now, I am afraid that this will lead to a fraudulent act made by him. And why is he not here anyway?
I see. Okay, first issue has been rectified, which is regarding to the planning and purchasing of procedure. So, what's next?
Actually, this also regarding Mr. Razi. We recently had a talk and he said that he has too much on his plate. So we cannot blame him 100% because he is only doing his job. I think the real problem here is that there is no segregation of duties.
Speaking of segregation of duties, I forgot to mention a problem regarding our storekeeper, Mr. Min. Not to accuse him of anything, I think he is the one who received the material and he is also the one who stored the material. Hence, I think he might act on his best interest.
I also detected the same problem in the raw material department. As we can see in our financial report, it shows an increase of amount to 100% cost of inventory from 2006. I think this is caused by the raw material department not making the reconciliation of an inventory.
So I hope somebody jotting this down, okay? Adding the segregation of duty issue, now we have two issues in hand. I'm assuming that more issue. So who's next?
Well, Mr. Gani, this is regarding our asset and safety issue. I noticed that the SRN, MMR, and VCR are directly submitted to the person or department that needs the document if necessary. I'm afraid some of the documents might have gone missing.
Mr. Gani, Miss Anne here, she did not attach the purchase order together with the set of the invoices. SRN and delivery order sent to the financing department, which is meant for the payment preparation to the vendors. This can affect the recording and the documentation process. You are supposed to attach them together, did you know that?
Well, your Mr. Faris did not file the carbon copy for the check that was sent to the vendors. Now let me tell you what will happen due to his negligence. If the vendors claim for any unpaid materials, your department could not find any evidence to show that we have already paid for the materials or not.
That regarding the completed recording and documentation issue, right? So adding the issue that mentioned earlier by Miss Alia, now we have 4 issues to solve. We need to solve this issue as soon as possible. But because I think some of issue is too heavy, I suggest we continue this meeting tomorrow to discuss the recommendation. So meeting adjourned.
After having one night to think of the recommendations for solving the issues faced by PCI, everybody was mentally and physically ready for it.
Good morning, everyone. Already thought the suggested recommendation? It's okay if you're unsure, because we're here to discuss them together. Who first?
Encik Gani, regarding the purchasing procedure issue, instead of sending the MMR directly to Mr. Razi, I suggest it to be authorized by Mr. Lim first. This is merely to prevent any theft or fraudulent act from happening. The same goes to the submitted quotation from the vendors. I mean, it should also have a proper authorization from Ms. Sam.
Good thinking, Miss Anne. You also mentioned yesterday that Mr. Razi should not be 100% blamed for this, right? I completely agree what you mean, because I believe Mr. Razi only doing what he's trained to do. Not only Mr. Razi, but also Mr. Min. So how we can help them to segregate the duties?
For Mr. Razi's case, the task should be done by different staff at different level. For example, calling for quotation should be done by other qualified staff, but at the same time being supervised by Mr. Razi. Then the quotation evaluation can be done by Mr. Razi himself. However, the purchase order generation should be done by another staff, maybe under my supervision. Well, the same thing goes to Mr. Min. I mean, a receiving department should be established separately from the raw material stock. Since Mr. Min is originally the raw material storekeeper, he should continue being the storekeeper. We just need to appoint another staff in the receiving department. This is basically to avoid any confusion and error from happening.
Brilliant. And regarding the raw material department, not making an inventory reconciliation, I have given a thought. The reconciliation should be made at the end of each month before the issuance of MMR. Okay. However, instead of the raw material department, I think that this should be done by the planning department. In order to avoid the material thief and also to ensure that only necessary purchases is made. Okay, I see all of you agreeing with me. So that means 2 issue down, now 2 more to go. Yes, Azman. I think you eager to talk.
Thank you, Mr. Gani, for noticing me. For Miss Alia issue yesterday, I suggest we pre-number all the documents she mentioned, which is SRN, NMR, and VCR correctly, so that we can ensure of the safety of the document and prevent them from going missing.
Mr. Gani, about the completed recording and documentation issue, I think Miss Wazana is right. Miss N should attach the purchase order together with the set of invoice, SRN, and delivery order before the arrangement for payment are made. No offense though, Miss N. This is only done to make sure that there is no error.
And as for Mr. Faris' negligence, he should keep the carbon copy of the check that was sent to the vendors.
And he should file the carbon copy by serial number or at least PIN number them for our company reference. However, I think just solving the issue are not sufficient. We need to think on the way how to improve our company performance. What about we implementation computerized purchasing system so that we can release some of our manual operations?
We can implement the JIT system, Mr. Gani, but before that, we need to take a look at our financial ratio analysis first to see whether it's suitable to be implemented or not.
With regards to the liquidity ratio, PCI's current ratio is showing an increase from the year 2006 to 2007. This indicates that we have more current assets to cover for our current liabilities in 2007 compared to 2006. As for the asset test ratio, even though the asset test ratio in 2007 is higher, this still indicates that our company still has a problem in settling for our current liabilities.
Meanwhile, for our efficiency ratio, PCI has lower inventory turnover ratio in 2007, which might be due to the reduction in sales and the slow-moving inventory because of ineffective sales strategy or inefficient inventory handling. As for the average collection period of PCI, it has been calculated that the average collection period in 2007 is shorter, which means the cash collection from PCI's debtors is faster. And then, the fixed asset turnover ratio of PCI in 2007 is higher than 2006. This shows that we are efficient in utilizing our fixed asset to generate our sales.
So, for the debt ratio of PCI, it shows a decrease from 2006 to 2007. It indicates that about 65% of PCI assets are financed by debt, while the remainder is financed by using the shareholders' equity. Therefore, it would be best if we review our dividend policy as well as avoid taking additional debt financing.
With regards to profitability ratio, the gross profit margin for PCI shows an increase from 2006 to 2007. This could mean that more cents are earned per ringgit of revenue. However, since the ideal percentage is between 20% to 40%, this shows that our gross profit margin is still quite low. Maybe we can make few improvements such as changing our existing supplier to a lower cost supplier or by reducing our production wastage. Up next is our net profit margin, which shows that it is higher in 2007. Hence, it means that we made more money than we spent. For the return on assets for PCI, there is an increase in 2007, so our company is basically earning more money on our assets. Lastly, PCI's return on equity for 2007 is slightly lower, which indicates that our company is less profitable in 2007 compared to 2006.
I see. So from the financial ratio analysis just now, it can be determined that our company has a problem in handling our inventory. We are also experiencing an ineffective sales strategy. So, JIT system is most likely suitable in helping our company to improve the inventory system.
Okay, I'm listening.
Well, Mr. Gani, by using the JIT system, we can reduce the cost of holding space because we order the materials based on the customer's preference and only when we need them. Other than that, it can also improve our product's quality since we only purchase according to the material required, so that the product will most likely have no defects at all. Apart from that, JIT system can prevent theft from happening because there will be no inventory left. We can also improve our company's performance in terms of our inventory controls and productions.
Pardon me, Mr. Gani, but I would also like to suggest for PCI to implement the electronic data interchange system, because I noticed that we are still heavily relying on the manual operations in almost all of our departments.
Yes, go on.
Allow me to explain, Ms. N. Mr. Gani, EDI system is the computer-to-computer exchange of business documents in a standard electronic format. So, by using this system, it means that we are going to replace the phone call, fax, as well as email. For example, as we are all aware of, PCI is still using manual system in making purchase order, which involve people. By having people involved, it can slow down the handling document process as well as leading to unavoidable human errors. However, if we use EDI system, the EDI documents can flow straight through the appropriate application on the receiver's computer, hence the processing can immediately begin.
Good job, team. Good job. I think we can start implement this starting from the easiest one, okay? So I think we can have all meeting here. So